Well,
ladies and gentlemen, I'm just trying to select the microphone here. Not that one. I'm not sure which
it is.
I think it's that one. They were all showing about the same. Hello, everybody. Hope all is well. Here we are again. Ready for another game in this season, which continues to throw up its various surprises. Let's just say. Jeff, Coxey, Lee, good evening. And it would be remiss of me to start with, well, the aftermath of the Portsmouth game. The elephant in the room. Yes, I didn't upload my Matchday vlog because I was so depressed and couldn't be asked to edit it, I know. I didn't want to relive that game again, but that's not, of course, the elephant in the room that you're all expecting me to speak about. Tim Balter's comments, which he has come out and backtracked on and apologised for today, but I wonder how much of that is him or the club saying this has got a lot of bad press, Tim, you need to apologise for it. He said something along the lines of that Portsmouth's fans were, getting behind them even when they were losing, and we weren't doing that. And there are a couple of things that I want to say. I said in the aftermath of his first interview and the Pompey game aftermath, on Twitter, I said, better side first half, but didn't do an awful lot. Then we made bottom of the league look world class. Tim Walter blaming the fans on BBC Radio Humberside is atrocious. Give us something worth shouting about then. We've won 3 games at home since January. Can't blame us for not being the most enthusiastic fans in the world at home. Opting to slag the fans off post-match won't do him any favours. For me, I'm on the fence. See where we are at the end of next week. Then assess, in my opinion. Performances are on the players and staff, but Adrian deserves criticism for the sacking of Rosenior / getting the replacement wrong and the failure of last season's transfer policy for the mid to long term. Reliance on loan players, leaving us needing a massive overhaul of the squad. And a comment Mike White made was, this wasn't in an interview, this was in a tweet, that, you can't say that we should be beating teams like Portsmouth because we haven't earned the right to do that. We have beaten 3 bang average teams that weren't at their best on the day. On another day, QPR could have been 4-0 up before we had our first if it wasn't for the heroics of Ivor Panda. There were a lot of different variables in that Stoke game. Ben Gibson should have been sent off. We defend the corner better, etc. I don't think without the penalty we go on and win the game 3-1. There's a possibility to go on and win it 2-1, but I think more likely would have been another 1-1 draw. And then Cardiff, yeah, we were all right. But I say that give it to the end of next week to reassess. That's just because I don't think it would be any good having an interim in I think it would do more harm than good, especially when we're so close to an international break. But, to play devil's advocate, sack him, interim for these two, Andy Dawson in as interim, and then you have a replacement ready to go by the start of the international break or midway through. The players usually get the first couple of days off, so they could go back in refreshed and what have you. But realistically, Adjun has put his neck on the line talking in sacking Rossini and bigging up Tim Walter. And there aren't a plethora of managers or free agents, let's say, in managerial terms, available. I saw people mention Graham Potter. I think Adjun is optimistic enough to give it a go, but Graham Potter's still getting paid by Chelsea. So that's an obvious reason why he's not taking a job anywhere, because Chelsea are still paying him off. Well, what now? Who else is that? Ryan Lowe, Stephen Schumacher. Someone on Twitter mentioned Ryan Mason earlier, and IBD Warlord has just put it in chat. Ryan Mason. Now, there are a couple of reasons why I think this one is semi-realistic. One, he's never going to be the manager at Tottenham. That's just never going to happen. In terms of coaches there's Ange Postecoglou, of course, the manager. Then there's his primary two assistants, Matt Wells and Mile Jedinak. Then after that, there's another 3 assistant coaches, of which Ryan Mason is one, and then the goalie coach. So Ryan Mason must surely be looking for his break in management. He's been interim at Tottenham twice. And it's unlikely that he will ever be manager there, like I've said. If he wants a break in management, this is the second reason, he's got unfinished business here. So why shouldn't it be here? Do you know what I mean? It is obviously a big move for his family coming back here again. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion it's interesting we're having this discussion when, one, we still have a permanent manager who signed a 2-3 year deal in the summer. And there doesn't even seem to be an inkling that he'll be sacked. Surely Adjun must have noticed the discontent on social media, because, see, for Tim, and this is the argument for sacking him, he's lost the fans. And once you lose the fans, it takes a miracle to get those same fans back on side. If Rossini had come out and said this, there would still be discontent shown among the fan base for sure. But Rossini had credit in the bank with a lot of the fans. Still does have an awful lot of credit in the bank with the fans. Tim has no such credit. He hasn't endeared himself to supporters immediately in the way Steve Bruce did. in the way Marco Silva did. Because you do that with on-pitch performances and winning games if you don't know the club already. Rossinha endeared himself to the fans in a very different way because he was, I'm not going to say a club legend as a player because he wasn't, but he was certainly a cult hero. There was the chant when he was a player, as a man with a nan from Hull, Liam Rossinha, his nana's from Hull, his nanny's from Hull, whatever the chant was. Rossinha changed how it was, different things. He had credit in the bank already when he joined because it was a well thought out, considered appointment. And he knew the club and the area inside out already. For Tim, coming from abroad, coming externally, it's hard to endear yourself to the fans without results, especially when you as a person, like this, I might be getting this impression of him totally wrong, doesn't seem the most outgoing. That was evident to me anyway, the first time I met him. First time I met him at Riva, didn't stop really with fans and say hello, even though it was a pretty chill day in terms of training. Didn't come down when the players did to speak and interact with fans. And then a moment that struck me was waiting on the barrier at Doncaster as the coach arrived. There were kids, like little kids shouting of Tim Walter. Can't be more than 6-7 years old. And he just sort of like blankly looks and puts his hand up to him and walks straight in, which to me sends the wrong message immediately. And that's why he struggled to endear himself to me anyway. And to a lot of fans, especially when you compare him to Liam Rossinha. And I think whoever comes in to replace Tim Walter, because I think now it is just delaying the inevitable. Now he's lost the fans. Like, we all want him to succeed, but he's lost the fans ultimately. And it's pointless giving him this extra time now when the fans don't believe in him. It's clear that some of the players don't either. Like, you look at Regan Slater's comments in the press before the Portsmouth game about how he got pulled off at half-time against Derby and the manager didn't speak to him about it because, quote, that's not his style. That's not his way. I can remember, I said this on the podcast last night, I can't remember what game it was, but Liam Rossinha brought Ozan Tufan off at half-time. And he said in his post-match, I never like doing it because it's such a tough thing to do. But I've spoken to Ozan, explained why I did it, and he understands, and we're good. I thought it would be pretty commonplace for that process to happen. And you can point to that, Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't a fantastic man manager. In fact, he was the complete opposite of a man manager. But the thing is with that, he had results to he had winning pedigree and results to back up his way. We haven't got that. So I'm not sure where we stand, to be honest. It's a very, very strange time to be a Hull City fan, just because of the upheaval we've had this summer, the uncertainty at boardroom level, which we're not going to talk about anymore. Coxie makes the point in chat, we seem to be playing more Rosenior ball than when Rosie was here. And look, I want to show stats to go on top of the stats actually in the game to back up some of what I'm saying. So I'm going to get through this quickly. Team news. Kamara joins the list of absentees after he was brought off with an ankle injury against Portsmouth. Tim Walter hopes he'll be fit to return against West Brom. Said the injury isn't that serious, it's just a bit painful at the moment. Longman and Smith are back in full training. Lottatala and Cartwright are back training as well. I saw Cartwright out on the grass the other day, catching a ball for the first time in a while. And Lottatala was warming up with the team on Saturday, and they're both at different stages of their respective recoveries. And now we get the injury list. Liam Miller, Marvin Malem, Stephen Alzate, and Carl Rushworth all remain absent. The referee it's not loading. There it is. The referees Will Finney. The two landers are James Wilson and Andrew Dallison. The fourth official, thank God he's not on the pitch, is Gavin Ward. So let's have a look at the stats from the game, first of all. We had 72% possession. 72% possession. But I had 3 shots on target through it. Portsmouth, 28% possession, made 232 passes. We made double plus 100 of their passes. What's 232 times 3? We were 100 short of treble the amount of their passes. 98 short we were. The accuracy was good, but the next thing I want to talk about is where that possession was had. So, the percentage breakdown of who saw the most of the ball. I think this is of the 70-odd% we had. I haven't got a calculator, I'm going to get an online calculator just to see what all of this adds up to. So, starting from the bench, Casey Palmer saw 1.5% of possession. Abdushamir, 0.9% possession. Chris Bedier, 0.2% possession. Will Jarvis, 0.7% possession. João Pedro, 1% possession. Abu Kamara, 3.6% possession. Mohamed Baloumi, 4.7%. Regan Slater, 2.4%. Xavier Simons, 3.5%. Gustavo Puerta, 1.4%. Cody Drama, 8.1%. Louis Coyle, 9%. Charlie Hughes, 10.7%. Alfie Jones, 11.5%. And Ivor Panda, 10.6%. That adds up to 70% of the overall ball. So there's a slight discrepancy in the stats, but that adds up to 70%. You break that down, and 11.5 plus 10, 21.5, plus another 10, 31.5, plus a 0.6 is 32.1, 32.8% of possession in the entire game was between Panda and our two centre backs. And João Pedro did very well with his 1%. His 1% was about one touch of the ball, and he scored with it. And another little bit of maths that's been done by @_Tom Coates on Twitter. Ivor Panda leads the league for goalkeeper passes, completing 237 more than anybody else. 69% of our passes come from the back four and the keeper, and just 19% from midfielders. We rank last in the league for the percentage of forward passes and first for the amount of sideways passes. That tells you really about all you need to know. The goalkeeper in second to Ivor Panda for passes is Lawrence Vigouroux. Panda's made, it's on a little chart, so it's hard to truly gauge just how it's represented on here. But Panda's made upwards of 650 passes. Vigouroux has made, by comparison, about 430. And then that goes down to Jensen at Millwall, who's at just over 100. So passes completed per position. Ivor Panda has made 666 passes exactly in the league. I'm looking at a different chart here. The defenders between them, 2,881. 56% defence, 13% keeper. Just 19% in the midfield. Another comment that I've seen come in is Fletch on 1904 Club. Central midfield is the area of the pitch where we have the most depth. Why did we invest so heavily in that area if we just don't use them? He made 2 changes at half-time against Derby, bringing off Slater and Puerta for Amur and Palmer. Those changes did very little to impact the game because we do not use the midfield. So, not at half-time, but fairly sharpish afterwards. I think what minute did Amur and so right. 62nd minute, he makes the same 2 changes. Puerta and Slater off for Amur and Palmer. if it didn't work once because we don't use the midfield, when fundamentally the tactics are the same, it's not a game-specific thing. This is a pattern that's emerged over 13 games. The point I'm trying to make is he made the same 2 changes that didn't impact the game twice. And it was just another 2 players with fresh legs running about trying to get on the ball. But because, well, one thing Pompey got right, fantastically right, was their press. Their press in the first half was the one thing they got right. And in the second half, they just went in at the break, looked at how we were playing and said, right, if you just intensify that press even more, we'll get something from this game. And lo and behold, they did. Lo and behold, they did. And Valter always comes out and says that they're getting better at doing what he wants them to do, which suggests the team are doing exactly what they want he wants them to, which just makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Absolutely no sense at all. I've missed a lot in chat here. If we get beat the next 2, he will 100% go. How many times do we need to hear Tim say after the game we can do it better for us to do it worse next game? Exactly. Yep. I'm making the trip to Oxford tomorrow, questioning my sanity. You should be, Lee. You should be. Chris Badir is awful, shouldn't be anywhere near the squad. All of that. Well, the 2 strikers that have been given a proper chance are Pedro, although he scored, offers nothing outside of that. Badia makes some good runs for a big lad, but his touch is just useless and he's got nothing inside the box. Give Burstow a go, for crying out loud. Panda had 97 touches. Cody had 96. Let that sink in. Badia looked so lazy in the warm before the game, putting no effort to doing what the coach was telling him to do. Chris Badia is lazy, though. Chris Badia is lazy. At the training ground the other day, he got Casey Palmer to give him a lift as they were leaving from one end of the training ground to where his car was parked at the other. And if you know what City's training ground looks like, it's not massive. And Casey comes out and calls him lazy. And then Chris comes out behind him. Oh, Casey's called you lazy. No, I'm not lazy. Jesus, it's struggle. It's a struggle. Tough question, Joe. Who was the worst player on Saturday? Oh, Drama didn't cover himself in glory. Puerto hardly touched the ball. This was a strange tweet from City at half-time. Bloody Gustavo, Gus in that first half, clapping emoji. He didn't do anything. He made one little ball. That was it. I've found the tweet now. Where are we? Gus in the first period. He didn't do anything. What's there to clap about? He didn't do anything. I don't understand how Balloumi's made it in Team of the Week. What, he got the assist for Pedro's goal, right? Another pass for Simons, which should have scored. But like when Malem gets 2 assists, everyone still says he's shite. Mohamed Balloumi's done nothing really to impact games since Cardiff. And I don't understand. It just shows how match ratings and doing match ratings based on stats are complete bollocks. Because there's no way a single Hull City player outside of Ivor Panda should have been anywhere near Team of the Week after that shower of shite the other day. There's not a chance. Not a chance. If anyone should have been there, it was Ivor Panda. What match rating did he get on One Football? Because it's the app I've got on my phone. I want to see this. Do they do ratings? I think they do. No, they don't. Let me look at Flash Score Championship results. Hull versus Portsmouth. These must do match ratings. Lineups. I don't understand how Balumi got a 7.9. Panda got a 7.1 when one did far more to impact the game than the other. Panda made 3 worldy saves. Balumi got an assist. I mean, fair, he got an assist, cool. But he didn't out apart from that. It's embarrassing as well the way Balumi went down when he was trying to get a penalty in the second half. The refs waved away what for me are 2 clear penalties for Portsmouth. Balumi gets a hand here. I'll just punch my microphone. A hand here. And he goes down outside the area trying to get a penalty because he's like on the line, clutching his face, rolling about. It's embarrassing. It's utterly embarrassing. The ref was never going to fall for it in a million years. It's even more frustrating that he beat his man. He beat his man and then still decided to go down. Stay on your feet and either try and win a corner by hitting it against him or try and get across in the box because Balumi puts balls into good areas. It's just Chris Badia doesn't try to get on the end of them. But it's so clear now, as Taya Hoops just put in there, Tim doesn't alter his system. So it's pointless having this discussion, really, because Tim will always play his way. And Ant made the point on the pod last night that we've got this habit now of getting managers that are really quite stubborn with their ways. And, well, we thought Rossini was stubborn. Valter puts it on a whole different level. McCann, 4-3-3. Other lads you don't count, he didn't have a clue what was going on. Rossini in terms of Allsop and stuff like that. And then that leave then onto Valter, who just doesn't change things. Rossini's style only needed tweaking. And Adjan told us that was what we were going to get. Still possession-based, but more exciting. How much of that possession we had, how much of that 72% was in our own defensive third or in our own half? Silly, really. I've been talking about that for 10 minutes. Let's have a look at Oxford's side. Jamie Cummings there, number 1. Matt Ingram gone there and been number 2. Peter Kioso was at Rotherham last season. Will Vauxhall at Sheffield Wednesday last season. Josh McEachran is a throwback. Plachetta was at Norwich for a while. Cameron Brannigan, the highlight of that team, really is injured at the minute. Matt Phillips was signed for them in the summer from West Brom. Siriki Dembele, formerly of Birmingham and Peterborough. Malcolm Ebiowei, of course. Tyler Gooderham gets good reviews from their fans, I believe. Ruben Rodriguez signed from, was it Notts County, I want to say? Was it Notts County? Yeah, it was Notts County. Signed for them a couple of years ago. And Dane Scarlett on loan from Tottenham as well. But you look at their form. I don't want to look at ours. We all know it. We've not won in 5, but these haven't won in 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games since their last win at Stoke, going back nearly 2 months. 4 draws on the bounce before 2 defeats, 1 to Sunderland and then Swansea in their most recent 2. And in the table, they are currently a point below us, but we are now perilous. If we didn't beat QPR, not 2 goals off, we are 2 goals. Well, no, sorry, we wouldn't be in there because, wait, hang on. QPR would have 2 more points if it was a draw. That'd take them up to 12. Put 2 goals back on, that's 6. We'd be 1 point outside the relegation zone if we didn't beat QPR. Cardiff, who looked dreadful before they sacked Errol Bullock, they've climbed up. They've got a bit of a run together. Pompey coming off the back of, being unbeaten in 2. No, not unbeaten in 2. Sorry, they've won once. That's the most recent one at this end now, isn't it? They've changed it. Looking up at the top, Sunderland leads. Did Sheffield United have 3 points deducted? I think they did, didn't they? 8 lots of 3 is 24, plus 3 is 27. No, so they had 2 points deducted, sorry. They'd be second if it weren't for the points deduction in there. And then coming up after, West Brom sat in the playoffs at the minute. Coming up after the international break, Luton, who are somehow doing even worse than we are. Sheffield Wednesday, who are below us on goal difference. And then Middlesbrough, who are sat in mid-table before we play Blackburn, who are sat in 8th. And Watford, where are Watford? Watford 5th. Watford, Coventry, Swansea takes us up to Christmas. What a time to be a Hull City fan. What a time. What a time. Another stat from that Fletch brought up on 1904 Club. I saw it earlier in the weekend. The only 2 teams who've got worse home records than us, Burton and Carlisle. Burton, who are currently bottom of League One, and Carlisle, who are looking on for a second consecutive relegation as things stand, at the bottom of League Two. So it's... Yeah, our home record's dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Anyway, right, I've been talking for too long. Far too long. Around the grounds tomorrow, Bristol City, it'd be 7:45. Bristol City versus Sheffield United, Oxford versus us, Sheff Wednesday versus Norwich, QPR versus Middlesbrough, Swansea versus Watford, and Plymouth versus Portsmouth are both 8 o'clock kickoffs. Then on Wednesday, 7:45, Blackburn versus Stoke, Coventry versus Derby, Millwall versus Leeds. 8 o'clock, Luton versus Cardiff, and Preston versus Sunderland, with West Brom versus Burnley being played on Thursday. It's very, very strange. Thursday games in the Championship. What is this woke nonsense? Memorable match, and it's not really memorable. I can just remember the Doc scoring in it because there's a photo of him wearing the 3rd kit from the side, fist bumping. This was the only game in the League One season, I think, where we had fans in the ground, because Oxford at that point, it was tiered restrictions, and they were in tiers where fans in limited numbers could come in. We drew 1-1. James Henry gave them the lead after 10 minutes, then Doc levelled with about 20 minutes to go. Our team was Ingram in goal, back four, Emmanuel, Alfie Jones, Jacob Greaves and Callum Elder. Midfield three, Smallwood, Honeyman, Doherty. Wings, Wilkes and Adelakun and McGuinness up top. The bench, George Long, Louis Coyle, Reece Burke, Tom Eves, James Scott, Regan Slater and Keane Lewis Potter. At the Kassam. Before this, we hadn't played them since 2004. And you'll see that on the record. And last time out, it was in March at home. A Keane Lewis Potter brace gave us the win that afternoon. Team was Ingram in goal, back four, Coyle, Burke, Greaves and Elder. Midfield three of Jones, Doherty and Honeyman. White and Lewis Potter, the wingers, with with Malik Wilkes, up top. The bench, George Long, Tom Eves, James Scott, Josh Emmanuel, Regan Slater, Dan Crowley and Josh McGuinness. No future or former Tigers in any of those two games in that League One season, with Grant McCann at the helm for us. And our record against these, well, you can't take anything from it because, like I said, before those two League One games, we hadn't played them since January 2004. And we won 4-2 in Division 3 as it was then, League One. So the last time we played them at second tier level was 1996 away when we lost 2-0. So this really is a first in the 21st century. Shared shirts, actually, I tell a lie. There was a former, not in the Oxford team that day, but there was someone who had played for both teams. Two, in fact. One of them was Dan Crowley. The other was Gavin White. But Gavin White's a bit obvious, I think, because he was at Oxford not too long ago. Dan Crowley, however, was at Oxford on loan from Arsenal in 2016, played 11 times and scored 3 goals. Was with us on loan through our League One season. Played 23 times in the second half of that year on loan from Birmingham and didn't score for us. And that brings us on to my predicted team, which I'm just going to talk you through it. Panda in goal, back four, Coyle, Hughes, Jones, and I think Giles will come back in because Drama had a bit of a honker, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's persistent and sticks with Cody Drama. Midfield, Zambrano in for Simons, Xavi, Puerta and Slater. On the right, Balumi. On the left, please put Will Jarvis on the left-hand side, for Christ, because that's where he's strongest. That's his actual size. Whenever he's played this season, Tim's put him on the right, which is not his natural side. Even against Alanyaspor, he played Jarvis on the right and Kamara on the left. Both of them on their weak sides. Swap them round, for goodness sake, man. And up top, he'll swap Badia and Pedro around constantly because neither one of them deserves to start consecutive games. Now Pedro's up to speed. Should start Burstow, should give him a chance, but he won't. Bench Rachopi, McLaughlin, Amer, Cynic, Pedro, Simons, Drama, Palmer and Burstow. As for predicted scores, I'm really not expecting anything. Get yours in chat. Adam, another is Tyler Smith. Yeah, Brandon Fleming's one. Matt Ingram, Malcolm Ebiowi, of course. There are 21 players, I think, who have pulled on both a Hull City shirt and an Oxford United shirt. Cynic, wow, didn't expect to hear that. I've put him on there for the last 3 games, Connor. So you've been missing out. Tay Hook says 3-0 Oxford, 1-1. And I think Jeff's got it nailed on there. I think this game has got 1-1 written all over it. 2 poor teams. We can't keep a clean sheet for Christ. Oxford had, 3-4 draws in a row? Was it 3 draws in a row? That we talked about in form a little bit ago. Yeah. Or Malcolm Ebiowi will score a hat-trick. Yeah. Right, that's it. I've got to be up early because I start early on Wednesday this week. So I might do a match reaction, I might not. But there will definitely be Tigers talk on Humberwave Radio Live and on the podcast channels live on Wednesday night for you to sit and listen to and get my thoughts along with Adi, Paul and Christian, possibly a couple more of the To Hull and Back team as well, if Will, Tom and or Nathaniel are available. But you'll definitely get me. You absolutely will get me. So, yeah. Anyway, see you after the 1-1. Go to Tigers. Goodbye.